I feel sorry for any child of a leftist parent. I feel sorry for you. Your parents have screwed with your life. You know how much child suicide there is now?
Jesus Christ. For someone who's just going off about the haters, there's so much hate. There's so much hate, and wherever you locate the small little like shrunken heart of his, it's nonstop hate. First, I want to listen to a little bit about Dennis Prager because he's got COVID. So let's see how Dennis's COVID experience is going.
Dennis Prager with the Fireside Chat, the chat, Otto, my wonderful bulldog, and hello to all of you. Since I last did a Fireside Chat, I had COVID. Undoubtedly, many of you know that, since I have learned that I trended on Twitter. There was a major article attacking me in the Washington Post and a whole host of other left-wing sites. And I was the object of many people's desire that I drop dead. Hopefully.
No, people weren't saying that. They were just saying that it's kind of ironic that you're kind of like a germ chaser. You know, someone who was like, when Dennis Prager announced that he had COVID, in the same announcement that he did it, he was like, I have been hugging people vigorously, define all kinds of protocols to make sure I hug them. Well, here, I'll show it to you.
It was more about how to treat COVID than most doctors and the NIH. Okay, everybody, all good. I'm broadcasting from my home because I'm not going into the station as I have COVID. I was tested positive last week, and I have been steadily improving. At no point was I in danger. I have received monoclonal antibodies. That's Regeneron. I have, of course, for years, a year and a half, not years, been taking hydroxychloroquine. I've taken Z-Pak, the erythromycin, as the Zelenko protocol would have it. I have taken ivermectin. I have done what a person should do if one is not going to get vaccinated.
Not getting vaccinated, but you're down with putting like all that other stuff in your body, like every single part.
It is infinitely preferable to have natural immunity than vaccine immunity, knowing that I was making myself very susceptible to getting COVID, which is indeed, as bizarre as it sounded, what I wanted. Ivermectin.
So he got himself on the horse.
Painfully. And I have a lot to say about this whole thing. What started it was that I had said on my radio show as soon as I got back after 3 days off, and I had minimal repercussions from the COVID. I had chills, I didn't even have fever, and I had a cough, and I slept a lot. That was the entirety of my COVID. I've had flu in the past, which was much worse and much more uncomfortable. So what I said was that I believe in therapeutics because I follow science. I don't follow the New York Times. I don't follow CNN. I follow science. If you think CNN and the New York Times and Washington Post and LA Times and NPR are science, then there's really little for us to talk about. They lie a great deal. They lie in the name of what they believe to be their great causes, whatever those causes might be.
I mean, it's not something that should have been as polarized as it was, but it is. So that's just the world we live in, and we have to deal with that. But I mean, Donald Trump's vaccinated. So are a lot of other conservatives. So are a lot of other conservative hosts. So, I mean, it's not necessarily like CNN, which I'll completely agree with you, is total bullshit. It's not them saying, hey, you should take this because we're the scientists. They're the media outlets who are talking about it. It's more the scientists who are telling you should take this. Because again, we always get back to this, but when we get down to the nitty gritty, it turns out that 99.5% of the people who are dying from COVID in the US are unvaccinated. And those like Dennis Prager who are doing fine are the ones who can afford to get all these incredibly expensive immunotherapies.
America is a systemically racist society is a gigantic lie. It is one of the greatest lies in the history of
Christian
any nation.
capitalism.
And yet all of the sources that I just mentioned to you say it every time. And they allow no one on who differs. No one. Because the left has never allowed for dissent. Never in the history of the left. Liberals allow dissent. Conservatives allow dissent. But the left is not allowed dissent. Have you?
The left is nothing but infighting and dissent. It's just one big ball of dissent and infighting.
Read any article on behalf of therapeutics in the New York Times? If you did, please send me a copy because I obviously missed it. On CNN or any of the others, Chris Cuomo mocked me on CNN, said that what I said was to garner attention, which is a joke since I have so much more attention than he has. The last thing I need is more attention.
Yeah,
we have
good
1 billion
flex, bro.
views a year at PragerU. How many does Chris Cuomo have? I have a tremendous number of people just watching this fireside chat each week. I have never sought attention in my life. And it's pretty clear to every one of you who watches me, you know that. That is not my intent. My intent is to influence people to be better human beings. I have very corny concerns in life. They're all about goodness.
I'll agree
So now
with you
back
there.
to what I said. What I said was, since I do believe in therapeutics, in other words, that there are things people can take, I can't even mention them because then Facebook will take this down. That's the irony. One of them is called a horse dewormer, even though it was created for human beings, not horses, and the inventor was given a Nobel Prize in medicine. It's an extremely wonderful, safe drug.
For a deworming drug.
And I have been taking a number of them the entire time, and I have announced it because I believe that should I get COVID, they will in fact minimize the seriousness of my COVID, which is exactly what they did.
Yeah, here's the thing though. Doctors aren't supposed to prescribe it for COVID-19 yet. They might in the future, we don't know. But in the interim, the average American doesn't have access to this. So instead they're taking whatever they can get their hands on, which happens to be the horse kind. You're just in a position of extreme privilege.
And prevent me from being hospitalized or in any other way seriously ill, which is exactly what happened in my life. So I mentioned that for a year and a half, I hugged thousands of people. And I said in the hope that, this was on my radio show, that I would get it and then...
Oh, wow, the New York Times does have a whole section on this. You're not kidding. Coronavirus drug and treatment tracker. So this is the following 33 coronavirus treatments for effectiveness and safety, FDA approved, widely used, promising evidence, tentative and mixed evidence, not promising, pseudoscience or fraud. Well, I mean, it's good that only 3 are pseudoscience or fraud, and then 13 are tentative or mixed evidence. Widely used, promising evidence. So which one are the promising? How do we... COVID-19 treatment guidelines, coronavirus vaccine tracker... the monoclonal antibodies, the ones that no one can approve. No one can afford. Widely used, yeah. Bamlanivimab and etesivimab reduce the risk of COVID-19 infections by 80%. That's good. Sotrovimab, promising evidence. AZD7442. All right. Mimicking the immune system. Convalescent plasma. Well, that sounds very expensive. Can I get some convalescent plasma, please? Oh, interferon. Isn't interferon just a drip? Their molecules our cells naturally produce in response to viruses. They have profound effects on the immune system, rousing it to attack the invaders, while also reining it in to avoid damaging the body's own tissues. Injecting synthetic interferons is now a standard treatment for a number of immune disorders. Okay. Antivirals. Remdesivir, yeah. So these are all the ones that he is taking. Promising evidence. Favipiravir. Avigan. Ivermectin. Not promising. Evidence in cells in humans. Oh no. For decades, ivermectin has served as a potent drug to treat parasitic worms. Doctors use it in river blindness and other diseases, while veterinarians give dogs a different formulation to prevent heartworm. Studies on cells have suggested ivermectin might also kill viruses, but scientists have yet to find a strong evidence in animal studies or human trials that it can treat viral diseases. As a result, ivermectin is not approved to use as an antiviral. Last spring, Australian researchers reported the drug had blocked coronavirus in cell structures, but they used dosage that was so high that it might have a dangerous side effect in people. The FDA immediately issued a warning against taking pet medications that contain ivermectin. Yeah. Nevertheless, ivermectin gained widespread popularity, thanks in part to people like Dennis Prager. Wow. Okay, and that's pretty much the end of the ones that are... Yes, this one's in the not promising section. Damn.
And I would I would, in fact, by having it, I would have the best possible immunity, natural immunity. What I should have said was, I hugged thousands of people knowing that I was protected. That's the way I should have put it. I didn't put it that way. On radio, you're very spontaneous. And
you're
the
a bug
truth
chaser.
is, I was not worried about getting COVID because I know the science.
Yeah, you were not worried about getting it, and you weren't worried about spreading it. Turns out you were wrong, and you got it. And most likely, you also spread it, Dennis. You also spread it.
Of the drugs that I was taking. And I also knew later on, much later on, that you could get monoclonal infusion, a Regeneron, and I got that as well. And I was minimally ill. I missed 3 days of broadcasting. And I probably could have broadcast all 3 days, but...
Nintendo says, I just did the research. Monoclonal antibodies for COVID, if administered in 4 shots, each cost $2,100. Just what the average American can afford. Keep on promoting this nonsense, Dennis.
But I decided to sleep in. That was the entirety of the extent of my COVID. So I have been mocked constantly because if you...
Oh, what's this? More science? Away from you, science. It's blinding. New CDC study says vaccination offers higher protection than previous COVID-19 infections. So it's better than natural immunity, you say, science? Damn you, science. No, fake news. Blah, flimshaw.
You go against anything that is said by the left, whether it is about race or America or religion or schooling or a COVID, they shut you down, but first they mock you. Now, can you imagine me wanting somebody I differed with to drop dead? Do I want people who are against therapeutics to die? Of course not. It wouldn't occur to me. Who are the scum who write in? Well, they're all anonymous, but I still would love to know who they are. Would you write in that you wish that somebody died?
Why would you love to know who they are if you don't care? And it's bad that they're doing that. Kind of sounds like you want revenge for all the mean things that were said about you, Dennis. And maybe it comes from a position that there's a whole bunch of people who don't actually wield real power in the world. You know, people who aren't multimillionaires funded by billionaires that kind of feel like you're trying to destroy the world actively, that actually the only thing they have is online, like making fun of you. Could be that.
They don't want people who murder people in gang-related warfare to die. They would say that if you said they should die, after all, they're anti-capital punishment, nearly all of these people. They don't want people who mass murder to die, but I should die. So I'm asked a lot, does it bother me? It does bother me for my country. It doesn't bother me for me at all. I am surrounded by love. I am surrounded by wonderful people wherever I speak across this country. I just came back from another trip speaking in Florida, and vast audiences show up, and I am given a tremendous amount of love. So the fact that I get hate only means that there are a lot of hate-filled people in the country. It doesn't bother me for me at all, but it does bother me that America has produced so many lowlifes. This is not a good sign. That the amount of hate from the left is acceptable. And people think they're good people, these haters. They all walk around thinking they're wonderful. They think that people who don't get vaccinated should not even be treated in hospitals. Now, if somebody just tortured a young girl and raped her to death, bet you they think they should be treated in a hospital if they were wounded by the police. But
no, these weird strawmen, and they are weird, are not true at all. Like, I think they should all be treated in hospitals, regardless if they refuse to get vaxxed.
Somebody didn't get vaccinated. They are on a lower level in many Americans' eyes than rapists and murderers. This is sick stuff. This is really sick stuff.
That I'm making up in real time.
If you have people like that in your life, my heart goes out to you. I have no such people in my life. I have people like that in the Washington
Sounds like a safe
Post,
space, Dennis
but they're not in my life.
Sounds like you got an echo chamber.
That's the story. That's what I have experienced in the last 2 weeks. This massive outpouring of mockery and hatred. It drives them crazy that I'm fine and talking to you, and that what I took really does work. It's not a horse dewormer, one of them. They're safe. They're wonderful. But of course, if you advocate it in the name of science, then they take you down. It's called misinformation. So they have you going and coming, right? They mock you for what you say, but they don't let you say it. That's the story. That's what the left does. And they think they're wonderful people, and they have a lot of people fooled into thinking they're good people. Well, they're not. It's been a puzzle to me all of my life. Does leftism make human beings worse, or do bad human beings go into leftism? I don't know the answer. It's probably both are true. Probably many of you know some kids who were really good kids when they went to college, and then they turned out
Then they
after
got
4 years of
indoctrinated.
college to be mean-spirited,
Yeah.
unhappy, and miserable.
Ugh.
I'll bet nearly every one of you knows
Blue
that.
hair dye.
So yes, it does make you less happy. These are unhappy people, and the unhappy hate the happy. It's one of the rules of life. The unhappy don't like the happy. It's not true for everyone, but it is true for many. So that's what it was. What was I supposed to do for a year and a half? Hug nobody? I attended rallies to open up my closed...
What was I supposed to do? Follow safety protocols? Don't spit on people? Don't get other people sick? No, I refuse. I want to be happy.
City of Los Angeles, California. Was I supposed to shake nobody's hand? Hug no one who walked over to me to hug me?
Yeah, you definitely weren't supposed to hug people. That's pretty clear. Hey, social distancing. The virus spreads very easily through speaking to other people. Was I supposed to not hug people? Grab them? Fondle their body parts? Am I allowed to do this now?
And that was in April of 2020, very early on in the epidemic. What was I supposed to do? Do what a lot of people did on the left? Lock themselves up and lock their children up and prevent their children from playing with other children because they are scared, witless, irrationally scared that their 7-year-old will contract COVID and drop dead when far more kids are killed in automobile accidents than from COVID?
I looked it up. Interferon is a protein that virus-infected cells emit, so cells around them up their immune defense. As a medication, I guess it tries to replicate that, get the cells to fight back. It's used to treat autoimmune disorders and some viral infections. I knew it was used to treat autoimmune disorders, and I've always heard that it's very expensive, though. Yeah. But, I mean, it's kind of ironic that someone who wants, obviously, everyone to get back to work as quickly as possible, because he's been advocating for that for some time, is also completely fine just running around, hugging everybody, spreading the virus. And also, everything he just said about how he's like, I knew that if I took, hydroxychloroquine, that I would be protected against this. I knew all this. I knew the science. You got COVID. You fucking got COVID. And most likely you spread it to a lot of the people you hugged.
I feel sorry for any child of a leftist parent. I feel sorry for you. Your parents have screwed with your life. You know how much child suicide there is now?
Jesus Christ. For someone who's just going off about the haters, there's so much hate. There's so much hate. And wherever you locate the small little shrunken heart of his, it's nonstop hate.
People suicide because of a year and a half of no intercourse with human beings?
Very odd choice of words there. Do you think hugging people is fucking them? Is that what you're saying here? It's like, am I not allowed to hug every person I see? It's called a Christian three-way. What's going on here?
Wearing masks for no good reason whatsoever. We are throwing children off airplanes if they're 2 years old and don't wear a mask, and people are mocking me?
Wow, he's really mad about this one. He's normally a little bit more reserved. I'm happy, and it's the unhappy who don't enjoy everything. It's the unhappy who try to take everything away from me. But I'm happy, all right. I'm happy.
They are the people who deserve mockery. The people who screw their children's lives. The teachers who have screwed all these kids' lives by not showing up. And
I don't think I've ever seen him turn this red before. This is genuinely upsetting him.
Teaching class. In Sweden,
he just went off. This last chapter was about mockery. Then goes into this one and talking about how he feels bad for the children of parents who mock them. And then the next one is all they have is mockery.
Every class, every single day of 2020, under the age of 16. Without masks, I might add. And not one kid died in Sweden of COVID. So I don't think I'm the one who was deserving of mockery. I lived a full life. And I said this on this broadcast regularly. I am leading a full life. I am hugging people. I am shaking their hands. I announced this. This wasn't new what I said on.
I have been promiscuous. I have hugged so much. Man, my notch belt has gone up. I've fucked like 40 people through this process.
On the radio. But I got COVID, so it got attention. That's it.
Oh, you know how Dennis Prager doesn't research anything, and if he has, he lies about it? Yeah, so apparently, number of coronavirus deaths by Sweden by age groups. So 10 to 19 years, 5. 9 years and younger, 9 years and younger, 9. 9 kids have died in Sweden.
You who have ruined kids' lives, you're mocking me? I didn't ruin my kids' lives or my grandkids' lives. and they had COVID. They didn't even know they had COVID, my grandchildren. It was a riot. My son did not tell them.
You are such a big part of the problem. Of course your kids had COVID. You know what? I am genuinely, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, happy that your kids were asymptomatic, okay? I do not want children to suffer in any way, shape, or form. But you know what, Dennis? It's very likely that those kids of yours who had COVID could have spread it to other kids and or other parents and or teachers and multiple other people who were not so lucky. That's the problem. It always has been. Your whole family is like a super spreader event.
Because he didn't want to get them worried. But he had them tested because everybody else in the family got COVID. So he wanted to see if the kids did. And the kids did. They didn't even know it. It was a non-issue.
No shit. That's what everyone's been saying. And again, I'm very happy for you. That's wonderful. I'm happy your kids didn't have any symptoms. Not every child is so lucky. Like the 9 kids who died in Sweden because of people like you.
So the mockery will continue because that's all the left has. Mockery.
And, you know, basic understanding of science, statistics, facts, all that kind of stuff. History as well.
As they called Larry Elder, right, in the Los Angeles Times, the black face of white supremacy. That's all they know how to do is mock because they don't have science or truth on their side. We don't mock. We tell the truth. And the truth is those people ruined a lot of children's lives, not to mention their own. So if you're...
Well, I mean, basically what Dennis is saying here is he doesn't mock because he doesn't know how to be funny, but he definitely condescends, speaks down, and insults. He does all of those.
Proud about screwing your kid's life the last year and a half, go right ahead. I pity your kid. They should have been raised in my house.
Ew. Ew. Oh, man. Amber alert all around.
Okay. One of the reasons that people like your coworkers dump or crap on capitalism is that they don't care about alleviating poverty. You cannot care about lifting people from poverty and be anti-capitalist. There is no other economic system that has lifted billions of people out of poverty. The world is richer, the human race is richer, wealthier, more affluent, more healthy than any time in its history, 100% due to capitalism. That is why even communist countries allow for some capitalism, because it is the only way to lift, as in China, their people from poverty. Capitalism. All these Chinese firms whose goods you buy, which I recommend that you don't, but that's a separate issue. It's all capitalism. There's another reason that your coworkers believe negative things about capitalism, and that is that they probably went to college. And you learn to be a fool at most colleges. Foolish people are making foolish people. That is the motto of the American, and for that matter, the Western university, but especially American and Canadian universities. Fools teaching kids to be fools. These people are making money doing nothing productive, being a professor, if you will, of gender studies, making a fortune of money, relatively speaking, and they are crapping on the only thing that made it possible for them to make a living doing nothing productive, and that is, ironically, capitalism. I have contempt for people who have contempt for capitalism. They don't care about lifting people from poverty. That's all it means. What would they like to see in its stead? Socialism? Socialism spends the money that capitalism produces. Socialism has never produced money. It spends the money that capitalism produces. No capitalism, no socialism. Even Marx said that, ironically, and he was wrong on everything.
Yeah, but no, that's a direct quote.
This massive outpouring of mockery and hatred, it drives them crazy that I'm fine and talking to you, and that what I took really does work. It's not a horse dewormer, one of them. They're safe. They're wonderful. But of course, if you advocate it in the name of science, then they take you down. It's called misinformation. So they have you going and coming.
Ew.
Right?
Oh, God. Oh, no. He's saying the things no one wants to hear. Oh, God. Oh, God. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we will build a ladder to heaven to deliver you the daily news. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are your most humble of clownish jesters. To our lords, Trevor R. and Alexander Thaler, you have our undying fealty. To our knights of the round table, Nate, that one guy, Hagbird Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariana McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Ants Are Still Running the World, Coulter Smith, Tom Groh, Val 9000, Jenna Tal, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Riley and Anna, Omni, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Chronic to Hemphog, Catherine, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Josh Mickelson, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We shall meet you in the tavern, and we raise a drink, and we salute you.